Hi, this is Fuad Abasov, a broker with Right at Home Realty, and this is your monthly real estate statistics. Toronto real estate market's cooling continued with home sales falling again in June, but decreases are smaller than those seen in previous months. The central bank increased its key interest rate on Wednesday by 1 percentage point to 2.5% in the largest hike the country has seen in 24 years. Headlines are meant to be dramatic, but let's take a wider look and see where we're today, compared to where we've come from. Record-shattering real estate statistics of recent times have been in some ways an anomaly, fueled by low interest rates and pandemic-era market constrictions. As first-round pandemic restrictions eased, a buyer demand created an almost frantic market with bidding wars, driving prices to new records and creating a lot of buyer frustration. According to Korea, the national average home price was up 42% from April of 2020 to April of 2021. By April of 2022, it was up another 7.4%. Where we are right now. Sellers are choosing to delist their homes as the housing market cools and prices sink. On average, home sales sank 41.4% year over year, and the average selling price declined for the fourth month in a row to $1,146,000, a drop of about $200,000 compared to the record high average selling price in February. Without a doubt, the increase in mortgage rates has affected most home buyers at a psychological level. Buyers are now waiting on the sidelines to see just how much purchasing power they could lose as rates climb, but have also put off making offers because forecasts have led them to believe prices will drop even further. Even though rates are up, it is particularly good time for first-time home buyers to get into the market because prices aren't as high as they previously were and listings are up. The Bank of Canada isn't done yet and is expected to continue taking rates higher through the rest of this year, although perhaps not at such a breakneck pace. As rates rise, home price relief will continue and sales will move even lower amid further pressure from borrowing costs. Now, let's take a closer look at average prices of detached home sales in June in comparison to June of 2021, as well as last month. In Toronto, the average selling price of detached home in June was $1.75 million, a 4.16% increase from June of 2021. The amount of sold properties were down to 34%, the amount of new listings was also down to 3%. Compared to May, the prices went down almost $160,000. In Vaughan, homes are sitting on the market for 14 days until sold, at an average price of $1.8 million, 4.75% increase from last year. The amount of sold properties was down by 52%, and the amount of new listings was also down by 11%. Richmond Hill. Prices went down $240,000 since May, 3% decrease from June of last year. An average price in June was $1.68 million. The amount of sold properties was down by 50%, the amount of new listings was also down by 22%. In Mississauga, an average selling price in June was $1.62 million, a 6% increase from June of last year. The amount of sold properties was down by 44%. The amount of new listings, however, increased by 9.5%. Days on the market until properties were sold was 16 days. In Markham, an average selling price of detached home in June did not change since May and is sitting at $1.77 million. An increase of 10% from June of last year. The amount of sold properties was down by 44% and the amount of new listings was also down by 20%. Days on the market until properties are sold is 16 days. Price drops in Newmarket has slowed down and is sitting at $1.30 million in June. 5.95% increase from June of last year. The amount of sold properties is down by 49%. The amount of new listings is down by 13%. Days on the market until properties are sold is 15 days. In Aurora, the average selling price of detached home in June was $1.7 million, a $120,000 decrease from May of this year. However, it's still 13% increase from June of last year. the amount of sold properties are down by 40%, the amount of new listings are down by 11%. It takes 15 days for the house to be sold in Aurora. An average selling price of detached home in Innisfil was $1 million, an increase of 2.39% compared to June of last year. The amount of sold properties went down by 47%. However, the amount of new listings was up by 57%. It takes 30 days to sell a detached home in Innisfil today. An average selling price of a detached home in King City in June was $3 million, a 39% increase from June of last year. The amount of sold properties was down by 71%, the amount of new listings was down by 51%. On average, it takes 20 days to sell a home in King City. An average selling price in Bradford is the same as was last year, at $1.13 million. It's a $200,000 drop from May. The amount of sold properties was down by 48%. The amount of new listings has increased to 5%. It takes almost 20 days to sell a detached home in Bradford today. Average selling price of detached home in Milton today is $1.34 million, same as last year, a $400,000 decline from the peak in February. The amount of sold properties in June was down by 39%. The amount of new listings has increased by 1%. It takes almost 13 days to sell a house in Milton. An average selling price of detached home in Stoufville surprisingly increased compared to May, and it was up by $130,000 at $1.63 million in June. Compared to last June, the prices are up by 8%. The amount of sold properties are down by 70%. The amount of new listings went up by 11%. It takes 18 days to sell a detached home in Stoufville today. An average selling price of a detached home in Barrie today is $888,000, an increase of 6% from June of last year. The amount of sold properties went down by 47%. However, the amount of new listings is up by a whopping 40%. It takes 16 days on average to sell a home in Barrie today. What about the rental market? The warmer months nearly always bring higher rent prices, and this June is no different. The GTA's average rental price for an unfurnished one-bedroom unit has soared to $2,192 in June, a $140 increase from months of May. After rental popularity declined during the pandemic, it's not a shock that the rates are coming back up on par with economic recovery. To sum it up, Canada's housing market is chronically undersupplied. Supply chain issues remain persistent, and immigration levels are on the rise. Those factors, coupled with high inflation and today's interest rate hike, mean that higher rental rents are likely here to stay. If you'd like to receive your own personalized report about home sales on your street or in your neighborhood, please email me at sold@fuadhomes.com or call me at 647-801-3401. Thanks for watching, and see you next month.